Okay, see that picture? It's pretty big, but here's a cool thing about InView. You can resize your images on the fly.
And that tells you that you're ready to add. I've released the mouse button at this point, and I can just move my mouse around, and the item will follow me as I do that.
If you want to go back to your applications, just click on that. You can search for your games.
And now it appears in your taskbar and is available to access.
Here you choose the Amiga model that you want. The majority of games will run on an Amiga 500.
Hi, today I want to show you some unintentional ASMR clips from my collection, so to say, with a theme of old school PC tutorials. I don't know why, but for some reason I find those to be quite relaxing. Maybe it's the clicking noises, maybe it's the pretty amateurish audio and video equipment. I'm not sure, but I really like it and I find it relaxing but also nostalgic in a way, because when I was a kid and just starting to use Windows 95, Windows 98, just seeing those old interfaces again, those pretty ugly buttons and interfaces, I don't know, makes me think of a simpler time. I guess that's nostalgia. But I would say, let's start with the videos. Alright, the first video I want to show you is called How to Make a Website by a creator called Fedora32, I think. It's a 16-year-old video which has, I think, 500,000 views. I'm not really sure why, but for me what really made it great was the hardcore nostalgia. Everything looks so 90s-ish. All the windows, all the buttons, also this cool skater guy he puts inside. It makes me think of like MySpace, GeoCities or something. And there's some nice typing sounds as well. The guy's probably American. He has a bit of a speech impediment, but I did find it quite relaxing, so check it out.
Hi, I'm J.K. Stevenson, and I've got a video today that will show you how to use the free What You See Is What You Get web editor InView. Now, you can freely download this program. It's easy to install. You first open it up, you'll see something like this. It starts you out with a clean, fresh slate, new page, nothing on it. You can look at the source. It's just basic starting source. And here's my template. What I did, I created a page with a blue background. So we'll start here in our header, and I'm just going to insert an image there. And find a different go with that one there, and that is going to be that's the alternate text that'll show up for somebody that isn't able to see graphics on in their browser. It'll give them that alternate text. There's our graphic, and then down here we'll do a little place for a headline maybe, or introduction to your site. Something like that. And then here I'm going to put in another image here. There's something really cool I want to show you. I'm going to browsing my hard drive to find the image I want. This is a guy graphic. Okay, see that picture? It's pretty big, but here's a cool thing about InView. You can resize your images on the fly. Make them a little more manageable. It makes it real easy too. And then over here, we'll put in a little text. So there you go. Put a picture in, we resized it, we add a little bit of information to it. Come down here. In our footer. And we can preview it when this is what it's going to look like when it's live and online. And now here's some other cool stuff you can do. Similar to Word or front page, you can change the text color. You can make it bigger. Left justify, right justifies, center. You can change the font. You can use that highlight option that you see sometimes, like that. You can put in bullets, numbered lists, just a whole ton of stuff you can do. Images, you can insert more tables, forms, got a form for collecting information from your visitors. It's just a ton of stuff you can do with it. Any of these tables you can change. You can go into your table properties. See, we don't have a border on any of them. We could change that. Put a border in. Change the spacing, the padding. Change the size. We can come over here. Even do more changes. Change the background color. So now we gave this table a border, and we'll see what that looks like in our preview. You can change the border color. Anyway, that's just wanted to give you a little quick and easy video on how easy it was to use this program.
Alright, the second video I want to show you is about a tool called Isadora 2, which I don't really know, but it seems to be some kind of media player. Looks pretty terrible, to be honest. But the creator of this tool, Mark is his name, I think, gives a tutorial, gives an introduction to this tool, clicks around, and he has an amazing voice, I think. And yeah, I enjoyed it, and also the interface looks pretty terrible. It's on Mac though, but I really enjoyed it. So check it out.
Welcome to the Isadora tutorials. My name is Mark Caniglio, and I'm the creator of Isadora. We're assuming that at this point you've gone to the troikatronics.com website and downloaded a copy of the software. If you're working with the demo version, you won't be able to save your files because that's the limitation of the demo. If, of course, you have a licensed copy, then you can save your files as you go along. In this tutorial, we're just going to cover the very basics, how to play a movie, but this will help us to understand the structure of Isadora and how it works as we go into deeper tutorials. So when you first start up the Isadora program, this is the window that you'll see. It's made up of three main sections. The section on the left is called the toolbox. This is where all of the actors or modules inside of Isadora reside. Use the actors to create the actual system that you're going to make, whether it's to just simply play back video or it's an interactive response, whatever you're going to do, all the modules will be taken from this section. There's actually 8 sections, and you can access those by clicking on the numbers here at the top. The first section is the video group. The second section is the audio group. The third is the MIDI group, and it goes on from there. Now that we've got our media imported and we've got the stage visible, we want to go over here to the toolbox, make sure that you're in group number 1, and scroll down until you find a module called Movie Player. Now in Isadora, we don't drag the modules in. We simply click once, and you'll see the cursor changes to a green plus sign, and that tells you that you're ready to add. I've released the mouse button at this point, and I can just move my mouse around, and the item will follow me as I do that. When I've got it where I want it in the scene editor, I click again, and now it's been deposited into the scene. So I've added my movie player, and for this simple beginning, we're going to also need a projector. So I go back to the toolbox, click on projector, I see the green arrow, pull the mouse over here, and I click again to deposit it into the scene. In Isadora, the information moves from left to right. On the left side, we have inputs, and when you change those values, the inputs, it changes the behavior of the actor. The result of that comes out on the right, and so the information passes from one actor to the other from left to right. You'll notice that on the movie player, there's some things that we can change here, but the most important one to start with is the movie input. You can see over in the media window, we have a movie called dancer.mov. So we want to play that movie. To do that, click on the number 0 to the left of the word movie. You'll see that the background changes and the number becomes yellow. That's saying that Isadora is waiting for you to type. So I type number 2, and before I hit return, I just want to point out that this bar at the bottom is gray. That's telling you that this movie player right now isn't doing anything. It's because I haven't hit enter yet. But as soon as I hit enter or return, the bar changes to bright green, and you see the little line moving through it. That's telling you now that the movie is active. When appropriate, Isadora gives you feedback like that inside the actors to let you know what's happening. So we're playing the movie, but we don't see it. And the reason is, like a DVD player and a television set, we've actually got to connect the movie player to the projector to be able to see something. So I'm going to go here to the dot just to the right of the word video out in the movie player. And I'm going to click on that dot once, and again, release the mouse button. And when I do, you can see that I've got a red wire or lead following my cursor around. If I take that and I point to the dot to the left of the words video in on the projector, and then I click again, now we actually see the video appearing on the projector. So basically that's the first simple step. We've played a movie. But let's see what we can do to this movie just changing a few of the parameters. For instance, one of the inputs over here on the movie player is play length. That determines how much of the clip is going to be played. And so I'm going to change that to 2. So I click on the number 100, I type 2, and I hit return. And now you'll notice that it's playing a very small portion of the clip. I could also try something a little bit longer, let's say 10. I click on the number 2 and I type 10 and hit return. So what that's saying is I'm now playing 10% of the total duration of the movie. There's other inputs that we could change, for instance the play start. If I change that to 50 and I hit return, you'll see that it's now playing 10% of the movie, but it's starting 50% from the beginning of the movie. So I guess it's becoming clear that these numbers are expressed in percentages, not in frames. In Isadora, many of the parameters are expressed in percentages because for most of us, the idea of what is 2% of something, what is 50% of something is pretty easy to understand. So it's not like an editing program where you're expressing that information in frames. One important point is that obviously some of these actors have many parameters, and trying to remember what those parameters are can be a little bit hard when you're starting to use the program. So one really important tip is, if you want to know what a parameter does, point at it with the cursor, hold down the Alt or Option key, and you'll see that the cursor changes into a question mark. If you then click, you'll see that you'll actually get a little help box that tells you what that input does. And it works the same for the outputs as well. That's a quick way to remind yourself of what the meaning of one of those inputs or outputs are so that you can refresh your memory without having to refer to the manual. If you want to know what an entire actor does, you can simply click on the body of the actor like this. Option key, click. So here it says help for the projector, positions, scales, and renders a video stream to the specified stage.
Alright, so the third video is about Linux Fedora by a creator called the Cisco Noob. Her name is Ashley, I think, and she has a pretty nice, calm voice, I think. I never really used Linux myself, but Still, I found it to be nice and old school-ish. I think it's also like 10 years old or something. And I also really enjoyed her playing solitaire because that's hardcore nostalgia for me, because back in the day you didn't really have any games. You only had Minesweeper and solitaire and pinball. So in any case, check it out.
Hello and welcome back to linuxstudyguide.com videos. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to interact with the graphical user interface of Fedora. Okay, so when you load Fedora, this is the screen you'll see. Up at the top right you'll have your user information. I'm logged in as Ashley right now, but you can switch user, log out, anything you'd like to do. Here is your network settings, your sound settings, and also your display settings. Okay, and in the middle you have your clock, and if you want to change that, you left click on it and go down to date and time settings. Left click on that and it will show you your time, and you can change it to AM, PM if you like. Right? We'll just leave it as a 24-hour for right now. Now to get out of this, you can either click on the little X up at the top right, or you can click System Settings and hit Quit. And also Alt F4 works on Fedora as well. Okay, and on your left we have the activities. Go ahead and left click on that and this screen will pop up. You have your favorites on your left hand side, your windows, your applications, and your search bar. And this shows you what screens you have open. So right now we only have the main screen open right now. Okay, so let's say we want to open a web browser. Click on Firefox. You wait for it to load. And it'll just take a second. And there it is. So you can take, and let's say we want to go to Facebook, and it'll pop up right there. Click on that, and there you go, there's your Facebook. Okay, so then we can exit out of this, like I said, by a little X here, going up to Firefox and hitting quit. Or let's say you want to leave your Facebook page open, but you want to go back to your main screen. What you can do is hit Activities, left click on that, and it will show you, it'll take you back to this page, and it'll show you that you have your Facebook page open, and also your main screen is open as well. And let's say you want to open your pictures. You can left click on this, or you can also just take and left click on it and drag it, and it will open it up. Now on your left hand side, the main screen with the little fireworks going on there, that will always be open. So no matter how many pages you open up here, you'll always have a blank screen down here, which is nice. So you can always go back there. Okay, and this is your pictures. We don't have any pictures in this right now, and what I'm doing to make it bigger is just scrolling with my mouse, and you can make it as big as you want. And then we can go back to this, our contacts page, or we can go back to our Facebook page. And let's say we click on our Facebook page, but you don't want to go back to activities and go back to that screen. What you can do is click Control Alt and then the arrow keys. You can hit down. It'll take you to your contacts. And then you can hit down again, and it'll take you to your pictures. So that's kind of a neat way to save time instead of going back to the activities and going back to that page. So, and that was Control Alt and the arrow keys. So we can go up, up, or down. Okay. And let's say we want to open our files because we want to create a document or search for a document. what you can do, I already created a document called doc1. You can search for that, and there it is. And double click on that, and this is a document. And instead of using Word, we're using Gedit. So, and it has all the main features of Word. It has file, edit, print. You know, you can do just about everything you can do in Word on Gedit. Okay, and to exit out of this, click the little X. If you want to go back to your applications, just click on that. You can search for your games. You can add solitaire to your favorites. Just drag that there, and it'll open up a solitaire game for you there. Let's say you want to exit out of that, just quit. Go back to your activities page. And let's say you want to make this a separate screen for this. You just you click on that and drag it, and it will show you all of the files you have open. And so that is just a basic rundown of some basic things you can do in Fedora. And thank you for watching.
Alright, the fourth video I want to show you is by Joshua Howe on how to attach a folder to your Windows XP taskbar, which is probably also 10 years old or something. Joshua Howe, he refers to his website joshuahowe.com, but I checked, it doesn't really exist anymore, it seems like. But I did enjoy his voice and his mouth sounds a bit. And also seeing just Windows XP gives me hardcore nostalgia because it was the first operating system on my first own computer. And even though now it looks a bit weird, there's blue everywhere, I did enjoy it quite a bit, so check it out.
Hi, this is Joshua Howe from joshuahowe.com. I wanted to show you how to dock a folder here in the footer in your taskbar in Windows. This will allow you to then navigate down through the layers of a folder without ever leaving the document or browser window that you're on. So in order to dock one, you right-click on an empty space on your taskbar, go to Toolbars, New Toolbar, and from here you can navigate to the document or the folder that you want. So you drill down, and now it appears in your taskbar and is available to access. Removing documents is just as simple. You go to Toolbars, and you'll see the two items that are checked are the ones that appear in the taskbar. If you click on them and uncheck them, they disappear from your taskbar. The other thing is if you want to be able to open an entire folder from your desktop, you can right-click and say Open. This will allow you then to be able to work and manipulate documents within that folder. But if you just want to be able to access information in that folder, access a document, that's easy enough to do. You can add new documents to these folders, but you can't drag and drop from this window. It won't actually let you put anything and remove them around from this window. So, for more information and more tips, visit joshuahowe.com. Thank you.
Okay, the next video is about a guy installing some kind of emulator on his old Windows computer to play an even older game. I like his kind of whispery voice, even though he added some weird clicking sounds. I kind of like this type of tutorial though. It's very old school, very simple, and also makes me think of my own childhood because our parents didn't want to buy us a Game Boy, but I really wanted to play Pokemon, so we had to get an emulator and play Pokemon Yellow. So really some nostalgia for that too. So check it out.
Hi, my name is David, and today I will be showing you how to install WinUAE. This is an emulator for running Amiga games on your PC. The first step is to download WinUAE. So you go to this website here and you click download the link to download the latest version. which is currently 2.8.1. Next step is to download some games. There's a number of games websites that you can go to. I've created my own called Games for Enthusiasts. I've got a small selection of games that you can download here. There's also the game archives. There's thousands of games you can download from there. Planet Emu and Emu Paradise. There's obviously many more websites that you can go to, but these are the 4 that I recommend. And then we open up the emulator. Now, it may be confusing at first because of all the different settings there are, but once you know what you're doing, it's quite straightforward. And you need to set all these properties before you can actually play any of the games. So you need to make sure that the path is correct to your ROMs, which it is. And then you can set various folders to save your videos in, screenshots, etc. Here you choose the Amiga model that you want. The majority of games will run on an Amiga 500, but for the games that require a more powerful model, I would usually go for the A1200. Now you might think that, oh, well, you just choose the most powerful Amiga and it'll be fine. But the older games don't tend to run in the later models. So you just need to choose the appropriate one for the game that you want. Most of these settings you just leave as they are. Display settings. Now you can choose to run the game in windowed mode or full screen if you want. I usually change this to single because there's less of a border around the game that way. Make sure that sound is enabled, otherwise you won't hear any sound when you're playing the game. And if you want to emulate the floppy drive sound as the disk is being loaded, then you can do that there. Here's where you configure the mouse and the keyboard. You can change to a different layout for the keyboard, and you can also set your joystick as well. Now we need to select the game that we want. For this example, I'm going to be playing Amiga Alien Breed Special Edition. Click Open. And these are the floppy drives that you use. So DF0, by default, you have one floppy drive, but you can have up to 4 in total. You just tick the box to enable them, like that. So once you've finished everything, then you just click Start and the game will run. Now, for some reason, the video I'm recording now doesn't capture the sound from the emulator, but I can assure you that there is sound that you can hear when you're playing the games. Now the game starts. And then when you've finished, just press F12 and then press quit. Thank you for watching this video, and please leave your comments below.
The next video is 11 years old and it's about a tool called Bluefish. I think that's a editor, kind of like Notepad or WordPad or Sublime Text. The guy sounds a bit Scandinavian, a bit of a strange accent, but I really enjoyed the clicking sounds, the typing sounds, and his voice, and kind of a really old school feel to it, so please check it out.
This is an introduction to Bluefish 2.2.0. Let's start Bluefish by opening a project. Our project is called Test. So in the GNOME shell I type test, and there we have my project called test. Bluefish still looks the same, but a lot has changed. Under the hood, Bluefish now works with the new GTK3 series, as you can see here. But a lot more has changed. A lot of existing features are just a bit more polished. Bluefish has gotten faster, especially when working with large files. Bluefish also supports more languages now. But not all of them are shown in the menu anymore. As you see, here is a large list of languages. For example, look here, there is no Vala. If I go to Preferences, Language Support, there is Vala here. I tick Show in Menu, and now Vala will be shown in menu. As you see here, there are a lot more. For example, WordPress. There are a couple of more languages. HTML5, Google Go, D. Yes, there are several more languages that are not present in Bluefish 2.0. The language syntax scanner has a couple of new features. For example, the toggle comment function. Over here I have a PHP file which has PHP obviously, but it has also HTML, it has JavaScript here, it has CSS syntax here. And if I select some text here in the HTML and hit Shift-Control-C for comment, I get a comment. I hit it again, the comment is gone. If I do the same inside the CSS block, I get a different type of comment because this is CSS context. Same for JavaScript, obviously a JavaScript comment here. I can do the same in over here in PHP, comment it. As you see in PHP we have three types of comments. For example, we have here a comment. If I hit Shift-Control-C, it's gone. I have a line comment here, this is recognized. And there is a block comment here. If I hit Shift-Control-G, everything is uncommented. Just select the block, hit Shift-Control-C, and I have a block comment again. Another new feature is the block selection. If I put the cursor over here, you see on the status bar you see bold paragraph body HTML. So there is the block stack is here. If I hit Shift-Control-B, the most inner block is selected. Hit it again, I get the block boundaries as well. Hit it again, I get the parent block. Hit it again, I get the block boundaries for the parent block. And so on and so on. This works in HTML. As you see, it works in CSS. And if I go to a PHP part, for example, here inside function arguments, hit once, twice, hit it again, hit it again, hit it again. So if you want to comment out a complete block, for example, just hit Shift-Control-B for the block that you want to comment, hit Shift-Control-C, and everything is in the comment. Hit it again, Shift-Control-C, and your text is back. If I start to type rate now in the PHP context, I see rate download, rate image, rate link. So just select rate image. So we have autocompletion now for user-defined functions. But what if I don't know the arguments to the function? There is another new feature, which is a jump feature. I hit Ctrl-G and I jump to the definition of this function. So right now the cursor is in function rate image, hit Ctrl-G, and there we have function rate image. So the jump feature jumps to the definition of the identifier.
So the final video I want to show you is about a tool called MeshCAM, which seems to be some kind of older 3D editing tool, kind of like Blender or something. It seems to be kind of hard to use because the guy has to type a lot and it doesn't seem to be intuitive and easy at all, but still has this nice 80s, 90s interface feeling to it. And this guy is actually using this to create some actual woodworking, which looks a bit weird, but still, I really enjoyed this guy's voice and the typing sounds too, so check it out.
We're going to do a quick walkthrough here to show you how to machine this file using MeshCAM. I'll assume that you don't know a great deal about CNC, So we'll try to cover a few of the core concepts along the way. Okay, for step one, we're going to go define the stock dimensions. The stock dimensions are used to tell MeshCAM how big a piece you're trying to cut. So if you have a 4-inch object you're trying to cut and you have a larger piece of material that you're trying to cut that out of, you need to tell MeshCAM that, and then it can figure out how big to make the toolpath to remove all of that material. What we're going to do here, we're just going to tell it, we'll let it figure out the overall dimension. We're going to go here and tell it to add 1/8 of an inch margin to the left and right, and then 1/8 of an inch margin to the front and back. And what that'll do is take the overall size of the object and just add 1/4 of an inch overall. And you can see that the X and Y dimension did update up here. The other thing we're going to do is add about 30 thousandths to the top here. And what that'll do is keep the top of the stock a little bit above the object we're trying to cut out so that we don't have to worry about the top being uneven. And when we click OK here, we can see that that white outline updated, showing the current outline of the stock. And if we look at the edge view here, we can see that 30 thousandth gap here from top to top. Okay, now we're going to set the program 0. And what that'll do is tell the milling machine where to begin. So by default, MeshCAM will put it in the lower left-hand corner at the top, and you can kind of see it hidden here in the corner. And what you'll do on your milling machine, when you put your material that you want to cut from on the table, you have to then initialize it to make sure that the orientation of your stock on your table ends up being with the 0 point configured right here. The bottom left-hand corner is a good place to begin by default. You can move that around anywhere you want. For our case, I'm going to move it to the middle of the object, and we'll keep it at the top plane. And when we do that, we can see it updated right here. Okay, now we can create the toolpath. So we'll click here and we get kind of a wall of numbers that we have to plug in. Again, this will be a little bit MeshCAM specific, but I think a lot of the overall concepts are going to be similar no matter what program you use. We'll begin at the top here. We've got a tolerance value. And what that'll do is tell MeshCAM how accurate you need it to be. And if we have in there right now 1/1000th of an inch, what you're telling MeshCAM is that you can undercut the material or overcut it. You can gouge it by up to 1/1000th of an inch. Now, if you needed a highly accurate toolpath, you could make that a 10,000th of an inch if you wanted. And the trade-off will be that you're going to get a much bigger program to load in your mill, and it'll take a lot more time and memory to calculate it. So you want to go to a good value that'll give you a good product, but you don't want to go too far because you're just wasting time at that point. We're going to tell it to machine the entire stock. The alternative would be to machine only the area covered by the geometry, and then we could add a little bit of margin around it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to roughing over here. And the roughing toolpath is going to be used to remove the vast majority of your material. When we look around the part here, we told it to machine the entire stock. So roughing is going to be removing everything around the part, minus some little bit. We're going to tell it over here how much we want to leave behind. But it'll remove everything but your core part plus that little bit to leave behind for finishing. We're going to do that roughing with a ball mill here. We've configured an 1/8 inch ball mill. The roughing is done in a series of passes that get deeper each time, and we're going to put 1/8 of an inch between each depth pass. We're going to do down here, we're going to do parallel roughing, which means that the part or the cutter will go back and forth over the part. So between each pass, we're going to put 1/10 of an inch. Then we've got our feed rate in here, which will tell it how fast we want to go. And then again, we're telling it to leave about 1/32 of an inch behind. And then you're done. You've got a toolpath you can load in the mill and you're ready to go. So we'll go load it in the mill and show what'll come out. And here we are partway through roughing. you can see that it's getting rid of the material but not leaving a great finish. For that, we'll look to the finishing pass. And here we are about halfway through the finishing. You can see that a lot of that roughness is beginning to go away, and we're ending up with a pretty good part. And here's a look at the finished part.
Alright, so did you enjoy it? I hope you did. I know it's a bit of a niche topic and everything, but I really do like those videos quite a bit. And I think part of the appeal is just that it's regular people who aren't really YouTubers and professional speakers with professional equipment, but just normal people who want to share their knowledge and just, yeah, talk. And the fact that you don't really see a person isn't a problem for me personally. And I also really like those old school clicking sounds and mouse sounds. But I think a big part of the appeal for me is also the nostalgia, to be honest, because just seeing those old interfaces, even Windows 95 or the old Mac OS or the old Windows 98, Windows XP or whatever, I guess automatically you remember this time. And to many, maybe it was a simpler time. You were just starting off playing Diablo 1 or StarCraft 1, or I don't know, just Age of Empires. All these older games which were actually really well made, some of them. Half-Life 1. And yeah, obviously I think you automatically kind of develop some nostalgia for this time. I was really fascinated by computers. My parents weren't really encouraging me so much, to be honest. I didn't get my own PC till I was maybe 16 or something, 15. And before that I couldn't really have a Game Boy or something. I never had a PlayStation or a Sega or something. So whatever. But now I'm an adult and I can play as much as I want, so that's that. And still, I don't know, back in the day you didn't really have good games, so you were just using a text editor or just using Word all day. At least that's what I did. And so I guess in this time I don't know, I just really enjoy playing around with computers, even though I didn't really become an IT guy per se. I really like this time, and thinking back about it, even though not everything was perfect back then, obviously, but still, just looking at old programs to me is also some kind of artifact that is really, really interesting actually. How was an interface built? How were the buttons? I think there are some different phases when it comes to UX, UI too. Without claiming to be an expert, I think there was the phase where everything was just almost like pixel art, with Windows NT or 95, and very low saturation, lots of grays. And then I think with Windows 98 there's more colors and it's still a bit gray and everything. But then with Windows XP suddenly it's very high saturation colors. There's everything is all the taskbars are in high saturation, light blue, and there's lots of greens and everything. And it's obviously closer to what we have now, but still very distinctively 90s. Every button has a gradient of colors. Everything is kind of shiny and popping, but it's not simple at all and sometimes really hard to find stuff. But then now I think it's become more mature, obviously, but also a bit more boring in a way. The computers you're using, still, I like to think back about it, and to me, in some sense, looking back at a program from 20 years ago, or a PC game or a video game from 20 years ago, could be more interesting than looking at an old painting in a museum, or looking at, I don't know, learning about history. Because in a way that's history too, and it's very alive for me because I experienced some parts of it. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. I don't know, for some reason I like it. So yeah, in any case, that was my little compilation. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being here, and see you next time.